Section 6, Silius hides and Messalina appeals to Claudius. And meanwhile, with 3 at the most accompanying her, so sudden was the isolation, after she went on foot through the city, she entered the Ostian road in a cart, by which rubbish of the garden was being taken away. She aroused no pity in the citizens, because the hideousness of the scandal prevailed. And now she was in sight of Claudius, and kept shouting that he should listen to the mother of Octavia and Britannicus. Narcissus, however, shouted her down, referring to Silius and the marriage, and at the same time he handed over a writing tablet as proof of her lusts, by which he might divert the gaze or the glances of Caesar. Not long afterwards, the children tried to present themselves to Claudius as he was entering the city, but Narcissus ordered them to be moved away. We now come to one of the most pitiful yet damning moments of Tacitus's account, the desperate flight and public humiliation of Messalina, and a failed attempt to appeal to Claudius. We begin with the phrase tribus omnino comitantibus tam repens erat solitudo. Right, only 3 people, or 3 at the most, are accompanying her. Tacitus cuts straight to this point with the word omnino, meaning in total, as if to underline how shocking it is. It's followed by a bleakly concise explanation. Okay, this bit here from tam solitudo. So sudden was her desertion, so sudden was her isolation. That word right at the end carries some emotional weight. It's not just loneliness, but isolation, abandonment. From the heights of Empress, surrounded by flatterers, she's now alone. There's almost a moral tone here. Even those who supported her want nothing to do with her now because of what she's done. Then comes quite a vivid and scathing description. First, she walks through the city on foot. Okay, pedibus. Pedibus is humiliating in itself. It suggests that she's lost all of her imperial status. But then it gets even worse. She enters the Ostian road, the road out of Rome towards the coast, not in a litter or a carriage, but in a cart used for garden rubbish. Okay, this phrase here. Tacitus could have simply said a cart or a vehicle, but he chooses, right, to sort of degrade her and say that she had to flee through this cart used to take rubbish out of the gardens. It's quite deliberate to show just how far she has fallen. And in this bit as well, we also get quite heavy alliteration of the letter P, right? Per, pedibus, pergamenta, ericantor, which jars and almost spits out the word. Okay, you see these P's here, P, pedibus, per, even postquam, right? Lots of P's going on. The description of the cart isn't really necessary for the plot. It's there to disparage Messalina. It presents her as degraded, literally carted off like waste. And Tacitus doesn't shy away from showing his views on this, right? And then the narrative continues. Okay, we have intrat right at the end, a historic present, again used to draw us into the immediacy of the moment. We are witnessing Messalina's humiliation in real time. Okay. Tacitus then goes on to comment, right, that she moved no pity in the citizens, nullam misericordiam. The word nullam placed first for emphasis. There was no sympathy at all. And Tacitus explains why. Flagitorum deformitas praevalebat. This bit right at the end. The ugliness of her crimes prevailed. He doesn't say her downfall or her misfortune was too great to inspire pity. He uses flagitorum, a strong moral term meaning disgraceful acts. Again, his own judgment is clear. And then notice, as we move on, the sharp sounds that follow. Civibus commovit quia. Right, we get the repeated sort of C's and Q's, more harsh letters coming out to hammer home his disapproval. It's an unrelenting sentence. It deliberately is quite unpleasant to read out, and Tacitus's style matches his own personal scorn for her. Then she is within sight of Claudius. Etiam erat in aspectu Claudii, and she begins to shout repeatedly, clamitar batque. Okay, this word here. Now notice the tense, it's imperfect tense. We use the imperfect for actions in the past that are still ongoing. They're incompleted actions, right? And it's desperate, right? She doesn't just shout once, she continually shouts towards him. She's not speaking calmly, she shouts, she begs. She calls herself Matrem Octavii et Britannici, playing once again on her role as a mother. It's another manipulative tactic, but now notice the contrast. Earlier on, okay, or rather here, he uses their names, but then later on, okay, we drop just down to Liberi. We'll come on to that in a second. Now, Narcissus cuts her off, okay? Now, Narcissus shouted her down, he brings up Silius and the marriage. Look at the contrast between the verbs used for Messalina and for Narcissus. Messalina, imperfect tense, right? Continuing, continuously shouting. Narcissus, perfect tense, shouted her down. It's over, final. The contrast is clear. Messalina clamitar Narcissus obstrepuit, he shouts her down with a single decisive act. It's Narcissus, the freed man, who holds the authority here. Messalina is silenced. And Tacitus adds quite a clever note. He hands over, this is Narcissus, Kodikilos, right? Documents listing her acts that she's done, okay? Not only does this show how far Narcissus is willing to go to discredit her, but it tells us something about Claudius. Narcissus wants to distract Claudius's gaze, right? Visus Caesaris allateret, not just from Messalina physically, but from any possible sympathy. It's quite calculated emotional manipulation. And then we get to the children right at the end. Okay. As Claudius is entering the city and the children are now presented to him, note the change. They're no longer named, right? Octavii, Britannici up here. Now they are just Liberi. This is very artio, right? It marks a change in the tone. He has depersonalized the children. The moment for emotional appeal is now over. Okay. And again, Narcissus is the one who takes control. Look how this passage ends. Said Narcissus amoeri eos usit, but Narcissus ordered them to be removed. The verb usit, okay, perfect tense, shows the finality of his decision. The children's innocent attempt to reach their father is swept aside. Tacitus lets us see just how thoroughly Narcissus has seized control of this situation. Now, this is a great passage, right? It's full of rhetorical flair, some quite damning vocab, loaded word order. The power dynamic has shifted. Messalina is broken. It's now Narcissus who is in control, steering Claudius's every response.